This month we have a really impressive collection of new documentary features, and the centerpiece of those is The Civil War by Ken Burns, 150th Anniversary Commemorative Edition. Now, this is a 6-disc set by, of course, Ken Burns, the acclaimed documentarian. And here's my question. Is there any subject matter Ken Burns couldn't make an interesting documentary about? You could probably give him the phone book and ask him to make a 6-hour documentary about it, and he'd make it utterly fascinating. The Civil War, of course, is no different. And the Civil War is a very interesting topic to begin with, so the man has a lot to work with. Basically, this is just everything you could possibly want to know about the Civil War, and then some, told through the usual Ken Burns style, mixing interviews, archival photographs, reenactments, artwork, everything you can imagine, all mixed together in that very serene, stylized way that Ken Burns does. And it's pretty fantastic. It's about 11 hours total. Not the kind of thing you can sit through and watch, in my opinion, all straight through in 1 or 2 sittings, but the kind of thing that, you pop in, you watch a disc's worth, give it a day, come back and watch another disc's worth, and it's a really enriching and satisfying experience. On top of the 11 hours of programming, there's also a bonus disc that includes a number of extra features, including Shelby Foote interviews, an interview with Ken Burns, additional interviews with some of the people who were interviewed in the film, commentary by Ken Burns, yes, a commentary on a documentary, surprisingly interesting too, biography cards, battlefield maps, and a Civil War challenge. It's all put together in this really nice box set and a great slipcover, 6 individually packaged discs and slim covers, and really, anybody who's a Ken Burns fan will know that this set is worth picking up. And if you're not a Ken Burns fan, well, now you know this set is worth picking up. Next up, we have a very interesting release, Julian Assange, a modern-day hero, ? Inside the world of WikiLeaks. Obviously, Julian Assange has gotten a lot of press lately as the founder of WikiLeaks. I have a lot of questions about this documentary, and I think that actually the back of the packaging tells you everything you need to know. It's directed by A.N. Other and produced by John Smith, which tells me right there this is probably more of a promotional piece than an actual documentary. And then they give you questions on the back of the packaging that says, is he our modern-day internet guru or simply a man of the people? How about, or is he a person who should be convicted and criminalized because he is also accused of sexually assaulting women? Now, I'm not saying he's guilty or innocent. I don't know. The fact of the matter is this is not a documentary that paints him in a light that's anything other than flattering. It really, for the most part, looks at him and presents him as sort of, a modern-day simple person of the people who's also a hero. So not the most objective filmmaking in the world there. Plus 3 hours, not the most interesting filmmaking in the world either. Next up from PBS we have the unfortunately timed Deadliest Earthquakes, Haiti and Chile. Now, to be fair, this was released before the Japan tsunami hit. It is not something meant to be capitalizing on that, but it is a very, very fascinating look at 2 major devastating earthquakes, the Haiti earthquake and one in Chile that didn't get nearly as much press as the Haiti earthquake, and it's pretty powerful stuff. It's an hour-long documentary, as most of the PBS documentaries are, and you'll watch some footage and see some photographs that are a little on the disturbing side, but overall it's certainly a very interesting look at how devastating these natural disasters can be. Next up, also from PBS, the best of Ask This Old House. 44 common household projects done right. This is actually a pretty cool disc. It's not really like something you can just sit and watch for entertainment, but basically it's what it says. It's 44 home projects, very common stuff, things that people want to do all the times, and they teach you the home improvement skills that you need and sort of tips and tricks to let you finish these projects. It's a 2-DVD set, over 6 hours of home instruction, tons of photographs and renovations, and basically they'll teach you how to do all sorts of things around your house, replacing cabinetry and redesigning things, remodeling things. If you are the type of person who likes spending time at Home Depot and Lowe's, which I am not, but if you are, there's a lot on here that can help you. There's actually some special features too. There's a printable photo gallery with 180 before and after images, 14 home improvement articles from This Old House magazine, and complete resource and product information for all projects. So this is really like a documentary in the very most basic sense of the word. Next up, we have 3 music releases. Bob Dylan Revealed, Bob Dylan 1990 to 2006, The Never-Ending Narrative, and Heart, Night at Sky Church. Now, the Bob Dylan films are basically a very interesting look at his career. The Bob Dylan Revealed film really does kind of focus on the first 20 or 30 years of his career, and also kind of veers into his more recent stuff. Bob Dylan, 1990 to 2006, The Never-Ending Narrative, is of course something that sort of follows his comeback album in 1989 up through his very well-acclaimed album Modern Times in 2006. Now, both of these feature a ton of interviews with people who were all around Dylan, including a Dylanologist. I didn't know that was a word, but apparently it is. A lot of archive material, also some performance footage, you know, and that's something that you don't get in a lot of documentaries these days. They basically, you know, skim over that stuff because they don't have rights to the music. The Bob Dylan Revealed is almost 2 hours long, and the Bob Dylan Never-Ending Narrative is about 1 hour and 45 minutes as well. So these are actual documentaries, not the kind of fluff piece 45-minute documentaries that some of the companies try and, you know, shove out there and claim are real documentaries. Now, Heart, Night at Sky Church is a recent a recent Heart concert. Includes a ton of songs. It runs about 1 hour and a half. You've got a bunch of hits: Barracuda, you know, These Dreams, What About Love, Alone, Crazy on You. And then, of course, there's bonus tracks, Back to Avalon and Kick It Out. I don't get the concept of bonus tracks. It's a concert DVD. The band sounds great. They don't look as good as they used to, but, you know, I like Heart. I think they have, you know, I liked them back in the 80s. They're not a band that I follow regularly, but it's just kind of a nice, you know, sort of greatest hits plus some more obscure material concerts. I got to hear some songs I'd never heard before. And Alison Krauss does show up in a guest appearance, so fans of hers will want to definitely take a look at that as well. No extra features, again, except for the aforementioned bonus tracks. But still, if you're a Heart fan, worth checking out to see what they're up to nowadays. Next up, we have Birds of the Gods, a nature show program from PBS, and that's the show Nature, not just a nature program. It's narrated by David Attenborough, and it focuses on the island of New Guinea in the South Pacific and some really, really amazing-looking birds that live there. As always, this is an interesting documentary. Not as interesting as some of the more recent ones I've seen, like the Wolverine documentary that Nature did, but really some gorgeous footage of these really amazingly colored birds, which does shine quite nicely in high definition. This one is available on Blu-ray and DVD, and I definitely recommend picking up the Blu-ray over the DVD, as it really does look just gorgeous in high definition. So again, an interesting feature. If you like birds, if you're one of those birdologists or whatever they call them, bird watchers, definitely worth checking out. For me, it was casually interesting, but again, I did enjoy the spectacular scenery in high definition quite a bit. Finally, all from PBS, we have 3 documentaries that all end in question marks, and those are How Smart Are Animals?, Can We Live Forever?, and Can We Make It to Mars? And each of these is made up of basically like mini documentaries or segments that sort of ask questions and then do their best to answer them. As always, with some of these things, we get sort of open-ended answers, but still interesting topics. So listen to some of these topics and tell me that at least 1 or 2 of these things isn't interesting to you. On How Smart Are Animals, we get How Smart Are Dogs?, How Smart Are Dolphins?, How Smart Is an Octopus?, which I found to be very interesting, and a profile of Irene Pepperberg and Alex, which is a scientific team of this lady, Irene Pepperberg, and her talking parrot. So those are all interesting, and what's interesting about those is they're produced by different people as well, so each mini segment kind of has its own flavor. Now, Can We Live Forever focuses on not just humans, but other things, such as, can my car live forever? Body Shop Body Parts, Can We Slow Aging? A profile of Jason Lee from Project Lifelike, and Human Hibernation, which is also kind of the most interesting one for me in terms of the fact that I like sort of that science fiction aspect of whether or not humans can be cryogenically frozen, and, you know, or what happens when they're submerged in icy water and they think that, you know, they're dead and they come back to life. You know, that type of stuff is very interesting to me. Again, written and produced by different people, so you get a little bit of a different take on each one of these. But some interesting stuff here. Finally, on Can We Make It to Mars, we get Space Dangers, Space Suits, Space Food, a profile of Vandy Verma, who helps run the Mars rover landers, and plasma rockets. Now, basically what these do is look at everything it takes to get to Mars and really gives us an understanding of what an undertaking it is, even to get the Mars lander to Mars, not to even mention people. Again, I always have enjoyed astronomy and space stuff. I really enjoyed this one as well. Some interesting features. As with the other ones, directed by different people, produced by different people. Some of the segments are more interesting than others. Space Food, pretty cool stuff. You know, spacesuits, very interesting. Plasma rockets, not my favorite part of the entire show. But, again, interesting stuff. I like the fact that these documentaries are all broken up into sort of mini segments, so you can kind of just, you know, it keeps everything fresh and interesting the whole way through. All 3 discs run an hour each, none of them include any extra features, but again, great educational tools if you're a teacher, and just some interesting watching if you like documentaries.